Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our installer training webinar. We plan to cover a lot of good information today, which is a continuation of our training from yesterday, and that will hopefully help you better understand the AP Systems solution and how to streamline the setup and commissioning of our ECU device using the new EMA Manager and the final steps in the EMA to set up your customer account. I'm Jason Higginson. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at AP Systems. On the call with me this morning is Pascal Leroux. He's our Global Director of Technical Support. We have Derek Gertz from Technical Support for North America, includes US and Canada, and Jared Christ, also from our tech support team. And we're all excited to be with you this morning and to see so many on the call from our training yesterday. Some real quick housekeeping. We've got a Q&A box that you can use to submit questions. You can always use the chat box. We'll be checking there as well. Those questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar. So there'll be a little bit of a Q&A at the end. So make sure you stay tuned for that in case you have any questions. We'll provide you each with a copy of this PowerPoint as well as a video recording. We're going to put this on YouTube and send that out. This webinar is also being recorded. One thing to note is there have been some issues with Zoom apparently sending out incorrect times or scheduling incorrect times for these. We scheduled this webinar through the Zoom app for 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. And for some reason, some of them have been going out as 12 p.m. Eastern start time, 12 p.m. Pacific start time. So what we may do is rebroadcast this around that time, and so we'll try to get that up in time. And if not, we will send out just a YouTube link for everyone to be able to have access to that. So apologize for any of the missteps on the Zoom side, scheduling side, but I also want to mention, if you missed the training yesterday, we are going to be running another 2-series webinar next month. So just keep an eye on our webinar page for that. It's on our website. You can go to resources and then the webinar page under resources, or you can simply go to usa.apsystems.com/webinars, and that'll get you there too. So our agenda, we're going to do a very brief recap from yesterday. We're going to spend the majority of our time talking about the EMA Manager, the ECU-R setup and site commissioning, and final steps in the EMA Portal. And then also the features and benefits of all of those. So there's a lot of great features in the EMA Manager now for installers, as well as in the EMA Portal itself, some handy tools for installers to be able to use for that. As a recap on the DS3 unit connects to 2 PV modules. That means a faster installation, comes in 240 volt or 208 volt. It's specifically designed for today's high capacity PV modules. It comes with an encrypted high-speed Zigbee wireless setup. So it's a TI Karamba chip that helps you create a mesh network for high data speeds. It's very important for today's really data hungry customers and data hungry microinverters. So the new cooling topology on the system is great for really mitigating the heat that comes with the new high capacity power conversion. And it comes with 20% fewer components, higher reliability, 10-year with a 15-year extension on the warranty. And then it's also UL 1741SA certified or California Rule 21. Our gateway device is the device that takes the information from the microinverter and then sends it up to the cloud. And it's a critical part of the system. It really helps you do the module level monitoring. It helps you look at all the details that you will see in the EMA portal and through the EMA Manager on DC voltage, the current, power output, etc. And it also communicates with those microinverters via Zigbee, and then offers Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or cellular backhaul to go back to the homeowner's router. Another great feature of this ECU-R is the simultaneous inverter polling. So it means it gathers the data from the inverters, simultaneously sends it up to the cloud, as opposed to in series, which takes a lot longer through PLC. So our EMA Portal is our round-the-clock monitoring system. It gathers all the data that is sent from the ECU-R gateway device at the site and puts it in a mode that's easy for installers and homeowners to read through and see at a snapshot how the site is doing. Also displays all your module level monitoring and all your energy production over the lifetime of the system. It also can alert you to any possible performance issues. It'll help you troubleshoot, and we're going to go into some of those tools today. And with that, I'm going to hand it off over to Jared, and he's going to walk you through some of the great features of that new EMA Manager app.
Thank you, Jason. Similar to what you see on the EMA website, the EMA Manager app will provide you with the same information while you're on the go. If you don't already have an installer account, you can quickly register by going to usa.apsystems.com/register and submitting the registration form. Although the ECU app is no longer available, it is now embedded in the EMA Manager app and is easy to access. Once you get registered, you can log in with your professional username and password. You can also access the ECU app without logging in. The home menu is going to give you a cumulative view overview of your sites, and you can access quite a few pages from here. The end user statistics is going to show how the systems are performing overall. You can click the More button in the top right of the screen to access your accounts. The device section will show how many of each product that you currently have installed on your accounts. This makes for a quick view of what you have out there on your homes. This is a great way to see an overview of all your account's energy statistics. Check it out here to see the month by the month or the year, and you get a total view, your kilowatt hours. The end user list will display all your end user sites. This gives you quick access to your ECU ID on each site, shows you the type of inverters that are installed there and the site's location. You just want to click on that to move to the next page. There are many options for organizing your end users. Utilize the display, filter, and sort sections to view your accounts in the order you prefer at any given time. I find this useful when troubleshooting. To access your end user accounts, click the end user icon at the bottom of the screen and then just select the account you'd like to view. Once you select the account, you'll see the home page and have an overview of the system's performance, daily or monthly. There are 3 icons at the bottom of the screen: the module view, energy data, and workshop. We'll be going over those next. Here's the module view. It's a great way to monitor the system on the go. You can review how the system is performing currently and on every day that data was reported by utilizing the calendar icon. I especially like the replay daily power option to see how the system does throughout the day. This will help to see if there's any shading on the system or times when there is lower production. It is helpful to set up your module view to match how it is on the roof. Doing this will give you a clear view of how the system performs throughout the day. The data icon is a great way to view how the system is performing over time and has several viewing options, including daily, monthly, and yearly, displaying kilowatt hours and power. Once you select an end user account, you can utilize the workspace icon in the bottom right of the screen. This section will be extremely helpful on site, allowing you to modify any accounts you have. From the installer workspace section, you can easily access the ECU app, create new end user accounts, create modules, access the ECU remote control, and display system reports. If you have experience using the AP Systems ECU app, then you will now find those features in the EMA Manager. Once again, the ECU app is going away. Please be sure to download the EMA Manager app. And for those who do not have it yet, it's great to download it while you're on this call. You can go ahead and check out the ECU Setup features in real time as we are about to cover them next. And on a quick note that if you don't already have an AP Systems installer account, here's how you set one up. Another good thing to do while you're online watching this webinar. It's free for professional solar installers. So just visit usa.apsystems.com/register, then enter your information and AP Systems will set up your professional installer account so that you have access to all the tools that we are talking about on this call. After sending in your request, check out the training materials and install guides on our website and videos on our YouTube channel to learn the best practices of how to install our products. Pascal is now going to go over the ECU-R setup and site commissioning.
Thank you. So as suggested yesterday, you will have installed the EMA Manager and gave it a little spin. Now we're going to connect our mobile device to the ECU in a peer-to-peer mode for commissioning. We want to configure our ECU. This is done by tapping the ECU app here on your lower right. Good to know, the ECU launches a Wi-Fi hotspot whenever it gets powered up. It keeps it alive for 1 hour. Whenever you need to relaunch the hotspot, just push the AP button on the ECU. It's on the right side on the device. The AP on the button has nothing to do with our brand, of course. It's just the abbreviation of access point. After powering up, or if you had to push the AP button, just go to the Wi-Fi settings of your mobile device. It will show a list of all available networks. Just pick the ECU hotspot and enter the password. For the ECU-R, it's 8x8. Whenever you're using an ECU-C, this step can be skipped because it doesn't have a password. As soon as the connection is established, please return to the EMA Manager and select the ECU app again. Once on the landing page, select Workspace. This is where the magic happens. For those who attended yesterday, you might remember I told you about the 2 stickers on the micro. This is where we put them to use. We're going to scan them one after the other by tapping the ID management button, selecting Add, and opening the scan function of your phone. This scan function opens the camera on your mobile device. So if you have placed the stickers on a sort of installation sheet, you can scan them in one after another. This way is the fastest way and avoids any possible errors. There is also a way to input those serials manually. Nevertheless, we strongly suggest to use the scanning function. A typo mistake by entering it manually will show a non-communicated or non-connected device on your layout, which should be avoided at all times.
And Pascal, one thing I'd like to add to that is we used to have kind of this auto sense feature in our gateway device that would pick up all the microinverters. The only challenge with that is because many of them can be detected in the area, especially with PLC. You can pick up inverters that are even down the block. So with a powerful PLC, that can sometimes create a headache, and then we're trying to remove lots of microinverters from your gateway. So instead, this rapid scan takes less than 5 minutes. The scan is about 5 seconds per microinverter, and actually has a rapid scan feature. You can actually just run it right down that installation map, and it'll pick up all of them. So it's a pretty handy feature.
Yes, absolutely. So all inverters are properly scanned, and all their IDs are showing on the list. We proceed by selecting sync to register all micros and establish the encrypted Zigbee signal. Should you have forgotten to push the sync button, the microinverters will show up on the portal, but will not communicate. Their link, however, can be established through the EMA portal later on, so you don't have to go back on site for this manipulation. After synchronizing, all micros should show a green dot next to their UIDs, confirming all is well. Now we select the correct time zone and grid profile, two minor settings, but nevertheless important to get your installation to run flawless. The configuration is as good as done. We're almost there. Now we still need to connect the ECU to the web. We can enter these settings by selecting ECU network settings. So yesterday we spoke about connecting it preferably by LAN to avoid as much as possible Wi-Fi router or provider issues. So connecting it by wire only needs you to check the obtain IP address automatically. The rest is done by the DHCP of the router. Just check before leaving this space that the IP address is no longer the IP address of the access point, and should be having a similar address, but the two last numbers should be different. So not 131.228, should be something else. Then you're good. Whenever you still want to connect for one reason or the other through Wi-Fi, this is the way. Just click WLAN, select the end user SSID in the list shown, enter his password, tap send, and the connection is done. Quite easy. Now we return to the landing page final time. You can see the production and the status of the connections, also the amount of installed and communicating inverters. When you tap inverter connection status, you can verify the individual connection between the micros and the ECU, which can be quite handy. Now for checking individual power production per panel, just select the module view. There you get an overview with the slider bar that shows you the production at that time of day so far. The data button shows you the overall production during that day. On the setting page, you can change your credentials, your language, even reset the password. Quite easy and, as said, self-explanatory for the commissioning. Now I pass on the microphone to my colleague Jared for an EMA Portal walkthrough. The podium is yours.
Thank you, Pascal. The EMA Portal Fleet View will allow you to view all of your accounts' locations, sizes, the registration date, and their system status. I particularly like the system status because it's color-coded. When the system is green, that means it's functioning normally. Yellow tells you some microinverters have either had communication interruptions since the beginning of the day, or that some haven't been properly registered. Red will alert you that the ECU has just lost internet connection. If it is a black, then the system has never reported data. I find that quickly looking at the system status is an easy way to identify how many systems are performing and see if there are any that need to check on. Once you select an account to view, you go to the dashboard, which will give you an overview of the system at a glance. You can see the current power curve along with other details about the site. This will also give you access to the side menu to quickly access all the other features. The inverter data view is a great resource to view the DC and AC measurements with multiple data viewing options. I especially like that there are many viewing options that make it easy to see the system's performance at any given time or date. This is extremely helpful in the event of troubleshooting, possible shading, or in the event that there's a faulty PV module. It'll all show up here. The grid profile will allow you to select the specific grid profile you need for your system. It'll be gone over in the live demo, which is up next. And I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Derek. He'll be taking over the live demo.
Awesome. Thank you for that handoff, Jared. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We're going to go into a live view walkthrough of the EMA portal. And let's go here. And I think you might have to allow me to share, Jason.
Okay, let me double check here. There we go.
Thank you. Let's get this pulled up. Okay, is that coming through for you guys?
Yeah, there it goes.
All right, awesome. So thank you for that handoff, Jared, and thank you, Jason, for getting that screen sharing going. And so, yeah, my name is Derek, and I just wanted to go over a couple of things with you guys today on this live demo. Wanted to go through the registration process, go over a couple highlight points, just some things that we might see on our end that might get missed sometimes. And then also go through a live demo on an account, some features to look for, maybe some things to troubleshoot on and whatnot. So I'm just going to jump right into it here. I'm sure a majority of you have probably seen this page before. This is going to be the registration page where you would go to make a customer account. And as you can see here, I got a 5-step process and we're currently on step 1. And I've kind of pre-filled this out on a test account just to go through this with you guys. But just to briefly go over it here, this section under account info is going to be where you create the username and password for the end user or the homeowner, so to say. You're going to input username, password, first name, last name, all that fun stuff. But one area I did want to highlight is right here on the email section. You'll want to ensure that you have the correct email here. If the customer ever needed to reset their password, if they forgot it, don't know it anymore, this email that's listed here is where that forgot password link is going to be sent to. And so just ensure when you're doing the initial setup that you get that email right. So maybe save yourself a phone call down the road for having to reset a password for someone. And then the next part here is pretty simple, just doing the address, city, state, and whatnot. Got your system size and KW, your module type, which this section is going to be the actual manufacturer of the module, say LG, for example. The one below that is going to be the STC rating of that module. So I just put 330 there. And then this step here is one I for sure wanted to highlight. A lot of times we'll see systems get set up and it just defaults to this 120 volt single phase option. And quite a few people will just skip over that part. So when you do set this up, just to make sure you're setting up the right profile for whatever system you're doing. So let's just say this is a normal residential, and we'll go ahead and click the 240. And then step 2 is going to be where you input the ECU info. And so I have one actually at my house, so I inputted this number here. Pretty self-explanatory, but just in case, you just go to this add button, enter your ECU number there, and good to go, click OK.
So Derek, if I could just add, this is a critical step in connecting the ECU that you just set up at the homeowner's location with your account that exists in the EMA portal. So this is really the only way that you make that connection between your installation profile and that ECU that you just set up out in the field. You enter that specific ECU ID, and it automatically puts that homeowner customer, under your account. So you need to make sure that ECU ID is accurate.
Yeah, and good call out, Jason. If you are 1 digit off or say have a typo here, you will see that when you get the account set up that it won't communicate unless you have the correct ID here. So yeah, good call out there. Just ensure we have the correct ID listed. So assuming that you do, go ahead and go on to the next step here. This is going to be where you add your inverter information, which is going to be the UIDs, or like Pascal was talking about, those barcodes that you say scanned in on site. And so there's 2 ways to add inverters to an ECU. You're going to want to start by clicking this add button up here. And so if you have scanned the barcodes from site and got them registered with the ECU while you were there, or even at the office, you can go ahead and click this insert UID into temporary list, and it will show all, and obviously I didn't do it for mine, but if you did click it here, all of the IDs would then show up on this right-hand side. And so doing that scan function there will make sure that you have all the IDs correct, no typos, and it'll save you some time when registering the customer, because all you have to do is literally just click this insert UID to temporary list, and they'll all show up on this right-hand side for you. But let's just say, for example, you did not do the scanning and needed to manually add them. There is that feature here. Just make sure when you are setting this up that you still have the correct ID, ECU ID listed, have the correct inverter type that you're looking to install. And then if you're looking to add channel 1, 2, or just channel 1 or just channel 2, then here you would go through and type in your ID number. And let's just say, for example, you were trying to type in your ID and you get an error code. Like if you're trying to set up, say, a QS1, but you enter a YC600 UID here, it's going to give you some error codes saying that it's not the correct number. And so just pay attention to those error codes if you ever do come across them. But I already entered a number here, so we should be able to go on to this next step. And submit that. It'll let me do it. Actually, let's add one just to make sure. There. Let's submit that. And then one step that I wanted to show too before I go on is make sure when you do have all the inverter IDs listed out here, make sure to click this link button before you go to step 4. That's going to start the initiation process for the ECU to go out and basically communicate with those microinverters and bring data back in. This can be a frequently missed step when customers are setting up accounts. So just make sure on step 3, you click that link button before going to step 4. And then step 4 is going to be the group view info, where you go ahead and make the module by module layout for the customer. So you're going to want to click this add button over here, and you can name your view name, whatever you would want. So for this one, I'll just say South Array, and you can make as many rows and columns as you like to do. I typically like to do 1 and 1. Click create, and then you're going to show over here on the left-hand side all the inverters that you have registered with the ECU, and then all you're going to do is drag and drop over here to the right. And what that's going to do is basically make your module by module view what it will look like for the customer and the end user, so to say. And so you just drag it over from the left and go over to the right. And one thing you can do after you drag them over to the right, there's going to be some additional options on here. If you right click on your mouse, you'll get additional options like deleting the UID, changing the orientation, say from portrait to landscape, changing the module type, deleting it all together. Quite a few different options here. So if you weren't aware, you can get additional features just by right clicking on an individual module. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And this will take us over to the last step, which is the uploading picture. This is considered to be optional. You don't have to upload any pictures, but we do highly recommend that you do so. A lot of times down the road, we might ask for things like, say, a single line diagram, photos of the array, photos of breakers, things like that. And it can save us having to go back and forth with you down the road if you do upload that initially. So we would highly recommend to upload pictures of the breakers, photos of the arrays, any relevant information that would be that you would find to be useful down the road. So if possible, go ahead and upload those photos. And then once you're done, or go ahead.
Sorry, Derek, I was just going to add one other note. One thing some installers like to do is all of the site documentation is they will upload it here under these as PDFs because it accepts PDFs as well. So you have everything for that site that you need, including all approvals, all site certifications, all under one umbrella, so to speak.
Yeah, and good call out there, Jason. So yeah, so a lot of people skip this step, but we would highly recommend to upload all documentation possible on this upload picture step 5. Let's just say, for example, you just go ahead and complete registration. And once you do that, this is going to go ahead and send out the welcome email to the customer, whichever email you put on step 1. And there it goes. And that's all you do. And the site would be created at that point and be available on your user list. And I actually do have one of our installers was nice enough to let me use his account. And so after you would create that, let's just go to a normal view here. And say you were logging back into your portal or for the first time or even after completing that registration, this is what it would look like on your user list. And so this is one of our installers in the state of Florida. But you can, like Jared was talking about, got your fleet view here. And I'm going to go into one of these customers' accounts and just go through some basic information that we like to look at when we're looking at systems. And so I have this account, I've been messing with this one. And so like we were mentioning just a little while ago, talking about the overview on the dashboard, you're going to have your customer information over here, system size, date of creation, where the system's located, type of product that it's using, grid type, all that good stuff. And then you're going to have your system status, which is green. Going to have your ECU ID, today's energy, kilowatt hours that have been made today. Going to have the wattage output of the system at the last reading. And you can drill down a little bit more by going into detail or status. I actually like this detail page myself. You can scroll through and do a lot of cool things. My favorite one is actually going to be hourly energy in a day. And so you can actually scroll down or drill down to give you hour by hour production on this system. So say hour 8, which would be 8 a.m. Between 8 and 9, you made 2.41 kilowatt hours. Between 9 and 10, 4.34. So there's quite a few different ways that you can drill down and look at production of a customer system. But I'm going to go back to the dashboard here. And so one thing that I did want to call out when you are setting up a site initially, and this might not be, say, the best example because this site's been on since 2020, but if you ever wanted to know if the ECU was connected to the internet, on this left-hand tab, when you're inside of the customer account, you can go to this diagnose and then click on diagnose again. And this middle section here is going to tell you the last time that the ECU detected internet. And so if you were ever on site commissioning, say, a system, and you wanted to know if the ECU is being set up correctly, this is a critical step, knowing if the ECU is connected online. And so you can know that just by going to this diagnose tab, clicking that diagnose dropdown, and then looking at this last heartbeat time. And that'll let you know if the ECU is connected online or not. And the next step you'll want to ensure to get communication going for a system is making sure all the inverters are linked up with the ECU. And so you can do that by going on this left-hand menu, going to the remote control section and clicking on ECU setting. And after clicking on ECU setting, you'll get a firmware version up here. But the important part is going to be looking at this link status. And so what we're looking for is for each individual inverter to show a link status of link. And so if you do have that, that means that the ECU has gone out, communicated with this microinverter, and basically linked up with it so that it can send communication back to this portal. And so I did earlier unlink one of these. And so if you ever have an inverter that is showing, I'll go to the module view real quick just to show this, NC. Why is it showing NC? A good spot to look to see if you have this thing communicating or not is going to be right here. And so this is my microinverter that I unlinked a while ago. And so as you can tell with that link status being --, it's not linked up with the ECU, and it's showing on this module view as being NC. And so if you ever have an NC module, just ensure you go to this setting and make sure that all the inverters are indeed linked up. And if you have one that is not, it's pretty easy. All you got to do is just make sure on this choose operation part, you got add, clear, and delete. Make sure that it says add, click the one that you want, and send it through. And it normally takes about 5 to 10 minutes or so for that command to be performed and go out and pull communication back, but just want to ensure that you have all these shown as linked.
And one thing it's important to note too is even if the ECU is not communicating necessarily with the microinverter, it's just communications, not power production. So that means that that microinverter is still producing power, still sending power to the grid. It's just the communication part. It's just not occurring at that time if it's not linked.
Yeah, exactly. And good call out there, Jason. Let's say, for example, you did have to send a command through to link up the system. You can always check to see when that command was sent through and when it was performed by the ECU. Just by staying in this remote control section, you can go to the setting list down here at the bottom, and it'll tell you what time the command was sent out, what time that it was performed, and if it, say, has gone through or not. And so the one that I just sent through to link up that inverter that I unlinked earlier was sent through at 10:35, and you have a reply time of --, meaning that it has not been performed yet. And so once there's a timestamp that goes, which looks just like this one, when it comes up here and does that, you're looking at that command being performed, and that inverter should then start communicating after that point. And so just wanted to go over that briefly. And one other thing that I wanted to go over is going to be the summary report section. I'm not sure if you guys ever get calls from homeowners that say, you know, my bill was a little high last month or something like that. But this summary report is a great section to go to see if the system is doing what it's supposed to be doing, so to say. It's going to give you an overview each month, month by month, checking overall production as far as kilowatt hours would go, you know, what the system's performing. You know, you can check year over year pretty easily. So you got, you know, your columns of 2020 each month going down, 2021 each month going down. I tend to look at month over month production and then year over year, so like comparing August of 2020 to August of 2021. It's always a good feature to go back and look at to see, you know, is the system making the same year over year or whatnot. It gives you a good snapshot into it. And wanted to show one other thing real quick. And let's go here. I had one site in particular that I wanted to show. And so let's say, for example, you get a phone call about a customer saying that there is a module that is not working. You know, how do you go about looking at that, figuring out the problem? And so I wanted to go over one real quick. And so this is a customer still in Florida, but what I like to do when a customer calls and says, you know, there's something going on with my system, I tend to go to this module view right away and try to find, you know, which module is giving us the problem or which inverter is giving us the problem. And you can tell in this system right away, you know, it's this one right here. And just want to confirm, you know, is it a single channel issue? Is the whole inverter not working? You know, what's going on with this? And so this particular product is a QS1. So you got 4 modules per inverter. And this one is showing one of those modules basically not working at this moment. But the other 3 on this QS1 are working pretty well. So, you know, the question becomes, why is this one not working compared to the other 3 on that microinverter working? And so what I like to do is drill down into this individual channel's details to see what's going on with it. And you can do that just by clicking on the module and going to this detail section at the bottom of this box. And it's going to take you to this page that gives you some information about this individual channel for this microinverter. And you can find that by looking at this inverter ID and then looking at this data level. It's going to allow you to look at just channel 1 on the DC side, just channel 2 on the DC side, or you can switch it to output, which is going to show you the AC side. And so when I'm looking at this one, I still don't quite know what's going on with it. It doesn't give me, say, you know, why is this one not working comparing to the others? And so then what I like to do is this nifty compare tool. You can go ahead and flip that on, and this is going to allow you to check 2 channels against each other, so to say. So you want to make sure that you got the right inverter numbers here. And our problem child was number 4. Oh, there it goes. And I'm going to compare it to channel 3, which is working pretty well. So this microinverter channel 4 not working well, channel 3 is working well. And you can tell in here that it gives you quite a bit of information. It's going to give you DC power, DC voltage, DC current. And if you ever have any questions as to which one of these lines, what they are, it's going to tell you down here below that. It'll give you the inverter number, which channel and what it is, inverter, channel, which it is. If you ever have any questions about what these definitions are, it'll give you a brief overview here. P equals power, V equals voltage, I equals current, and so on. And so what I was going to look for on this one is just looking at voltages channel over channel. So I'm going to get rid of the power on channel 3, get rid of the current on channel 3, get rid of the power on channel 4, get rid of the current on channel 4. And so this kind of allows me to take a look now, looking at channel 3, which is going to be that green bar, and then the channel 4, which is having the issue, which is that pink or purple bar. You're going to kind of go through here, and it gives you a better detail of what's going on channel over channel. You know, you're looking at about, say, 20 volts coming through on channel 4, which is not working, and about 33 volts in channel 3, which is working. So that's usually a good indicator that you might have a module connection issue, or maybe even some burnt diodes going on with the module. But it's letting us know when comparing channel over channel, gives us a better idea of what's going on. So I find this compare tool to be very useful when you have issues going on, especially if it's just a one channel on one inverter and the other ones are working well, so to say. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to go over with you guys.
Thanks, Derek. I very much appreciate it. One thing I do want to note is when you're looking at the difference between what the EMA says in production for one of your customers and they're comparing with their utility bill. So our gateway really collects a snapshot of data from each of the microinverters on the DC side about every 5 minutes during operation. So it's not designed to be a highly accurate revenue grade meter like the utility company utilizes. Their meter constantly measures power production on the AC side, and it collects that data in real time. And so with our EMA, it's really intended just to demonstrate the power production, not really to record revenue grade data. There are third-party revenue grade meters if your customer is interested in that. They can use that. Ours is because it's every 5 minutes, it's infrequent intervals. So it's not necessarily adjusting for every different fluctuation in energy production. So just be aware of that. And there is also a difference between the AC and DC that's being measured. With that, I'm going to finish up on the presentation side. Thanks again, Derek, for the EMA walkthrough. It was extremely helpful and very informative. So Derek went through a lot of tools. We don't expect you to remember each and every one of those steps. So this, we're going to put this up on YouTube, so you'll be able to actually, like, where exactly did he find that again, and what are the steps that I take? You can actually, move through that video on YouTube to be able to find exactly what Derek was talking about, the EMA Manager features that Jared was speaking about. We also have a lot of support resources on our website. So we mentioned this yesterday, the support page, you go to that, there's a form that you can instantly send that and have it reach the support team's inbox, and they will answer that within 24 to 48 hours. We have a training page that has lots of training materials and existing webinars that we've put up there. These webinars from yesterday and today will also make their way on that page. We have the registration page, as Jared mentioned, that you can go to set up your AP Systems installer account, and the product documentation library with all the information you need on AP Systems products and certifications.
And I did have one thing I wanted to show real quick. I apologize. I meant to show that while I was still sharing the screen. You can access a lot of these. And let's make sure I got this going. Let's go here and share. If you're on your installer account, you have access to a lot of these resources while you're logged into the EMA portal. If you go, instead of user list or registration, you click on this setting button up there on the top right. Under that, there's going to be this option on the left called resource. If you click on this resource tab, it's going to give you some quick click links to get to some of the troubleshooting guides, EMA app user manual, some very helpful features. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but we do have a troubleshooting guide, and it's very informative. If you ever have any issues that ever go on, it's going to define them, how to go about potentially fixing them and whatnot. And so we do have access to a lot of good things just by looking under this setting and then resource tab here while you're logged into the EMA portal.
That's fantastic. All right, and in addition to all of those resources, see, we put a lot of tools at your fingertips there. We have our YouTube website, a lot more information on that. And to contact AP Systems Technical Support, you can go to the website, as I mentioned, the support page there. Here's also a phone number that you can use, follow the prompts to reach out to technical support, or the email address is listed below, support.usa and support.canada. And that is our presentation for today. With that, we will move on to some questions. We are going to look to see what questions that we have in our chat and in our Q&A today. All right, so if my homeowner is having trouble logging into their system, what should I do? Derek, would you mind handling that one?
Yeah, no problem at all. So if you do have a customer that is having issues logging into their system, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here if you don't mind.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so let's just say, for example, this particular customer has issues logging into their system, into the app. And so the first thing that you're going to want to do is go ahead and pull up their account. You could basically, they just need a username and login. I assume is probably what the question is about. And a good question, by the way. We get these phone calls often. What I would suggest to do is go ahead and click into the customer account. On the left-hand menu over here, you're going to have a user registration tab. Click that, and then go ahead and click on account details. And after you do that, you're going to see their username listed up here, which, mind you, is also listed here as well. So that's going to be the username that they're going to want to enter. And you'll need to tell them that it is case sensitive and space sensitive. A lot of times customers just don't know that they have a capitalization at the beginning of the word, or even a space in between the two words. So just make sure that it is case sensitive and also space sensitive. And so that would be the username that they're going to want to use. And then let's just say, for example, they don't know their password, forgot their password, whatever the case may be. Just make sure that you have the correct email listed here, meaning their email, the homeowner's email. And if it is listed correct there, you can just go ahead and reset their password for them just by going to this account security right below account details. And you have options here for resetting the password or resetting the username. So you just want to click that reset password email, and that'll send it off to the customer. And then they basically just click on the link, follow the prompts to change their password if they need to. But I would suggest to start there, just confirming that they have the right username, that they're doing the right capitalization and spaces. And then if they don't know their password, I would just suggest to go ahead and reset it. And you could also reset it for them if you really wanted to go about it that way. You would just change this email from theirs to yours, and then go to this account security page, click that, and send it off to yourself and do it for them if you really wanted to. And then just make sure to change it back to their email when you're done. But they can reset it, you could reset it, but that's how I'd go about it.
Thanks, Derek, appreciate that. All right, we have another question here. How would I replace a homeowner's ECU in the EMA?
Yeah, good question. I can take that one as too. Take that one, dude, if you'd like.
Sure.
All right, good question, by the way. And let's go here. Okay, so let's just say, for example, this customer needed to have a new ECU number entered into their portal. You're going to have a couple options to do it, but the best way to do it is going to be by going into the customer account, clicking in on this left-hand menu, going down to user registration, and then on here, you're going to see a spot for replacing the device. That's the one you're going to want to click, and it's going to default to the ECU number. And so you'll see the current one listed here, and you would just go all the way over to the right, underneath action, click that replace button, enter your new number, click OK, and then that would go ahead and send it through. Not only will it update the number, but it will also send a link command out to get all those inverter numbers switched over from the old ECU to the new one. So going about it this way, it's embedded in the logic to have everything move from one ECU to another automatically if you go about it doing this way. You could do it a manual way as well, but then you'd have to manually link it up. So I'm not even going to show that. Don't suggest it to do that way. I would highly suggest just to use this replace device function if you wanted to change the ECU number, because once you do it, it'll go through and link everything up automatically for you. Same thing for the inverter as well. If you ever needed to swap out an inverter, for whatever reason, same thing here. Go to this replace device, go all the way over to the right, and update that new number to the new one. Make sure you're doing the replace by whole device, and then that'll go through and update the position of the module view for you, and it'll also send that link command as well to get that new number paired up with the ECU. So using this replace device is the recommended way to go about it.
Thanks, Derek. All right, we've got one more question here. It's asking about the ECU distance from the microinverters and what the recommended maximum safe distance is.
Yeah, that's another good question. So what we typically say is that right about 250 feet is give or take about the max that the ECU can do to reach the microinverters. We will say that obstructions like, say, metal, for example, if there's metal in between the ECU and the inverters, it could cause issues with it. But just generally speaking, about 250 feet direct line of sight is what we recommend.
Perfect. Awesome. And with that, on behalf of our panelists and AP Systems, we'd like to thank you for attending this part 2 training. Again, we'll be sending out this information to you and a link to view it on YouTube, so that you can go back and check out all the cool features of the EMA again. I'd like to thank our panelists. Thank you, Derek and Jared and Pascal. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.